Hey guys, welcome back to Bible in the Backyard. As you know, if you've been following along, we are in the middle of the Gospels. We are talking about Jesus' lessons that he taught to us, and those are parables. Parables are a earthly message with a heavenly meaning, and I'm going to talk about three parables today, and they all are weaved in and similar in different ways. I know last video we talked about, let me look at my notes, was the Good Samaritan, how to help others and be able to go on the other side of the street and not just walk on past them if they're hurting. This week I'm going to be in this video, I'm going to be in Luke chapter 15, and I'm just going to be reading the entire chapter, then go back and kind of dissect it a little bit for you guys. So if we turn to Luke chapter 15, and Luke is the third book in the New Testament, and it's also one of the Gospels. So the Gospels help tell, there's a spider and it doesn't need to be here. And the Gospels help tell the story of Jesus' life. So in Luke 15 it says, "They drew near unto him all the publicans and sinners to hear him. And the Pharisees and scribes murmured, saying, This man receiveth sinners, and eateth with them. And he spake this parable unto them." In verse 4. This is kind of when it starts Jesus' lesson. It says, "What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, doth not leave the 99 in the wilderness, and go after which is lost until he find it? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he cometh home, he calleth together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which is lost. I say unto you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, more than over the 99 just persons which need no repentance. Either," this is verse 8, "either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she loses one, doth not light a candle, and sweep the house, and seek diligently until she find it? And when she hath found it, she calleth her friends and her neighbors, together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost. Likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of angels over one sinner that repenteth." 1. In verse 11, "And he said, A certain man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. Not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself unto a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the field to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And when he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto his father, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field. This is verse 25. His elder son was in the field. As he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants, and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead, and is alive again, and was lost, and is found. I want to point out a couple verses. The first one is verse 4. What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he loses one, doesn't leave the 99 sheep, and go after the one that which is lost until he find it? In verse 8, the same thing. Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she loses one piece, doth not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently until she finds it? In verse 20, And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him. These stories have, I wrote 2 things in common, but they really have 3. And I'll get to the third one last. The person that lost something never quit looking for it. The shepherd with the sheep, the woman with the money, and the man with the son. They sought diligently, and he fought in the wilderness until he found it, and he was a great way off. His father saw him. So in my mind, he could have been 3 football fields away, 4 football fields away. If he saw his son, he was looking. He never stopped looking up the road, waiting for him to come. And then the second thing they have in common, they rejoiced when they found it. They rejoiced. They didn't just rejoice with themselves, they rejoiced with many people. His friends and neighbors. And then with the father, same thing. Rejoiced when they found it. And I want to say, that God never stops looking for his children. He never stops looking for us. Ever. Even when we're lost. He just wants us to come to him. And I feel like in that verse 20, I wrote this down. It says, it brings to life God's heart and the hope for all of us. He will run to us. God will run to us. All we have to do is take that first step. All that we have to do is be earnest and come to him. And he does the rest. And no matter, I also wrote this, is no matter if you doubt your worth to God or what you've done in your past, God will run to you. He already is there, and that's what is so, I say mind-boggling, it shouldn't be mind-boggling, but it is mind-boggling, is that he already is there. He already is with you. All you have to do is open your eyes and in your heart, and you'll find him, and he's going to celebrate, and he's going to run to you, and he's going to celebrate the fact that you are choosing him. You're choosing him. He's already chosen you. He already wants you. It's we that have to make that choice, and God does all the rest of it. He really does. And the third thing, I had this image in my head when I was studying this the other day. And if any of you have ever had a kid or ever done this yourself, rolled in mud, done a savage race, done a mud run, etc., just think of the 3 things that were lost. Think of where they were. The sheep was in the wilderness and in the mountains, probably somewhere, and it was dirty. That sheep was no longer safe with the other ones. It was out, it was wandering. So it didn't know where to go, so it was dirty. The woman having 10 pieces of silver, and that coin, that piece of silver, is dusty, is covered with grime, it needs to be cleaned so it has its shine back. The man, the son, there was a famine in the land, and he began to be in want, and then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and that citizen sent him to feed the swine. Pigs. Pigs are dirty, and they smell bad. Just being honest. Pigs are dirty, and they smell bad. And he says he would fain to have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And I had this image in my head of us just of me being covered in dirt. Me being head to toe in layers of mud and layers of dirt and layers of grime, whatever it is. And Jesus sees you, and you go back to him, and he comes and he hugs you. He comes and he hugs you. And he falls on your neck and he kisses you. And he slowly and carefully rinses you from head to toe. He cleans your hair. He cleans all the mud out of your hair. He cleans your face and all the mud off your face. He cleans your hands. He cleans your body. He cleans your legs, and he cleans your feet. You are completely clean when you go to Jesus. When Jesus has you in him, he washes you completely clean. There's no trace of dirt, no trace of mud, no trace of grime, no trace of anything that you've done before. All he wants is you right now as you are. Sorry, the sun's moving where I'm at, so I apologize. He brings you the robe, and he calls you his precious child, just as the father does to his son in this story. And then he also explains, he's like, he explains to his oldest son, he's like, no, you don't understand. Like, yes, you have been with me, and yes, you have followed me, and yes, you have stayed with me, and you have fought diligently, and you have been a beautiful worker for me. But this is what it's about. It's about redemption, and it's about this story of coming clean, and him and his son realizing that his father's going to take care of him. It's us realizing that Jesus is going to take care of us. And you may look at your past, and you may see your life and everything that you've done and or said or thought or have acted on or whatnot, and said, I'm not worthy of that love. I'm not worthy of Jesus' love for me because I've done this, this, and this. I'm not worthy of Jesus' love because I chose to lie to my parents. I chose to have a relationship in secret. I chose to go against basically everything that I've been taught in my life. That's me. That's me. And I'm saying that no, we don't deserve it. But that's what God does. That's what God does. He looks at us and the work's already there. He just wants us to have a relationship with him. That's who God is. And he wants us. He wants every single one of us, no matter where we have gone in our life. There's no story. There's a song. It says, there's no story so over that it can't start again. And that is true. It is very, very, very true. The same with this son in this story. It's still relevant today. It is still relevant today because he still works today. He still works in our lives. Regardless of where we're at, if we have nothing, or if we have some, or if we have a lot. Like, God still works in our lives, and he ultimately is the person that tells us who we are, tells us that we belong, tells us that we have this joy and this light inside of us, and that's who God is. Hello, Papa Todd.
Hello.
And he wants me, and he wants you, and he wants Pop Todd. all that he's asking of us is to take that one step. That's like what that son did. That son looked at himself and he said, I need to go back. I need to go back to my father, because even the servants have food enough to spare. Even this, even that. So we have to make that decision to go back to God and go back to Jesus, or just go to Jesus if we've never been there before. And the joy that it will be if it's just one person, if it's just one human being that turns to God. They'll celebrate. There's joy in the presence of angels of God over one sinner that repenteth, over one person that chooses Jesus. And I think that is just the most absolute beautiful thing. So that's the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. God doesn't stop looking for us. He'll clean us off. He'll make us shiny. He'll make us new. I'm not saying on the outside. He's not gonna he's not gonna scrub us till we shine and go, hey, look at me, da da da. But he's gonna make us new on the inside. He's gonna give us a clean heart. He's gonna give us a clean spirit. And he's gonna celebrate. He's gonna celebrate the fact that you are his kid. You're his kid regardless of what has happened, and you are his, and he wants you. So that is the story of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. It's also the story of us, the lost persons. So I pray that you have a beautiful day, beautiful night, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are at. I hope this touches you in a way. I hope I can answer a question if it needs, if it arises. If not, I know who to go to, and that's to Jesus. So I'll see you guys later.